So much like a professional athlete needs to warm up before they go out on the field and play their game, musicians need to warm up before they go and play music or play their instruments or do a practice session. So a good way to do that is by going through the things we've talked about already. Reminding yourself of good posture and good breathing from the bottom up. Maybe you do a couple of breathing exercises. Give yourself some counts. Maybe you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, blow out for 4, like this. Okay, groups of 4. Maybe then you change up the counts. Maybe you only breathe in for 2 counts, hold for 2, go out for 8. Let's try that. Ready? And changing up the counts is a good way to challenge yourself. See if you can just take one beat of a breath in and maybe go out for 16 counts. And you help to expand your capacity for how much air you can take in, and it really helps your trumpet playing. The next thing to do is to remind yourself then of embouchure. Good flat surface with the teeth aligned, rolling in a little bit. So again, we have that good flat surface to put the trumpet mouthpiece on. Never using too much pressure from the trumpet on your mouth, because that stops the lips from buzzing. The lips need to be allowed to freely buzz to make your best sound. So a next good step would be to do something called long tones. And we can take the notes that we already know. We know C, D, E, F, and G. And we can play long tones on those. Now long tones are just what they sound like they are. You take a deep breath and you play a long note. What you're being aware of as you play those long notes is you're staying aware of your posture. You're staying aware of the steadiness of your sound. If it's wavering, ask yourself what's going on. Is my posture bad? Or am I not supporting with good steady air? One of those two things. Or maybe you're using too much pressure. That could be a third thing that could make it so that your sound is unsteady. Always listen to your sound. Your sound will tell you if there's a problem or not. Okay, so one of the good things you could probably do, a good little exercise with long tones, is to put your metronome on exactly 60. Remember that the number on the metronome tells us the number of beats per minute. So if you think about it, 60 BPM, or beats per minute, is equivalent to a second, because there are 60 seconds in a minute, and 60 beats per minute. That's 1 beat per second. So I'm going to put the metronome onto 60, and it sounds like this. Okay, that's 1 beat per second. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play our notes. I'm going to take a deep breath, I'm going to play C. And I'm going to see how long I can hold it. Now maybe the first week you can hold it for only 8 counts. That's fine. Do that every day for a week. Maybe by the next week you can hold that same note you could only do for 8 counts originally. Now maybe it's 20 seconds that you can hold it the next week. It can happen that fast if you dedicate yourself to a little bit of time on your trumpet every day. Let's try it. Now remember, we're listening for our sound quality, because that tells us everything. It tells us if we're doing things right, and it also tells us if something isn't quite right, something's wrong, our posture, our air support, all of that stuff we talked about. I'm going to start on low C. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so whatever amount of counts, I think that was 16 counts maybe. And so now I tried D. It could be that you'll find you can hold different notes, different lengths of time. But maybe keep a little journal and write down, okay, I could hold the D this first week for just 6 counts. And maybe again, then you keep a log of that. By the next week, maybe it's 12 counts. Maybe it's 20 counts. Okay, let's try D. 2, 3. All right. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you really are trying to hold long tones for as long as you can on a breath. Now, I'm stopping at a certain number of counts, right now, just to give you the example. But when you're really going for as long as you can, trick, play quietly. Play quietly, because you conserve your air that way. You don't use up all your air. If you play louder, you use up that air faster. So if you find that you're only able to hold these notes for 5 counts and you are out of air, it probably means you're playing too loudly, all right? So back off on the volume. That's also really good practice for strengthening your embouchure and all of your muscles that have to do with your air support, okay? So playing softly is actually really, really good practice. So I would try these exercises, and they give you a great warm-up too. So let's just quickly recap why long tone exercises can be of such benefit to us. For one, they help us to strengthen and get used to how to effectively use our breathing mechanism. They also help to strengthen our embouchure and help to focus in those muscles that are required to play the trumpet efficiently and really well. And if we listen to the sound that we're producing, we're looking for steadiness of sound. If we hear a good quality sound that's nice and steady, it probably means there's a lot of things going right for us. If we hear a very wavering sound and it doesn't have a nice sound quality, it probably tells us that we need to check ourselves. Do we have good posture? Are we breathing correctly? Is our embouchure set the right way? All of those things, because those can negatively affect the sound. So listen to that sound, because it tells you everything you want to know. There's one other thing that listening to the steadiness of the sound can help us with, and it's something called intonation. You might have heard people talking about playing in tune with one another. And the way that I think of it is, it's very difficult to play in tune with anyone else until we can play in tune with ourselves. So I think of intonation as being pictured this way. Picture every note you play as being a target. And where do we want to hit on a target? We want to hit the bullseye. Bullseye is the perfect spot, right in the center of the target. That's where we want to hit. Now it's possible, take the note G, for instance, that we already know. If I hit a G, if I hit that target, but I hit it high, it might sound like this. Okay, that had sort of two things going on. It was so high on the target, it almost wanted to become another note. And it also sounded really pinched, did not have its nicest sound quality. I'm going to take that same G, and I'm purposely hit low on the target, and that might sound like this. Again, it's wavering, it doesn't have its nicest sound quality. When I hit the bullseye right in the center, that gives the most resonant sound for the trumpet, and it also means that I have my best intonation on that note. Maybe one exercise that you could do is to purposely float up and down on that target. Hit high on purpose. Come down and hit low on purpose. And then when you find the sweet spot, it probably means you have found the bullseye. That might sound something like this. And that's it. It's got it. I found where it felt the best. I found where it sounded the best. And that's why I was hitting the bullseye. You could do that on any note. So you can do that on F. Again, I'm looking for that spot where it has its best sound quality, intonation, and it probably means I have found the bullseye right in the center of the note.